The first missile hit the convoy's lead tanker and turned vacuum into a garden of glittering shards. Auditor Tsel's 4 pupils pinholed against the blast. His gill capes fluttered in panic beneath the collar of his diplomatic suit. He had come aboard Mercy's Forge to tick boxes for the Concordance safety audits, compliance rituals. Instead, the blood lane between Pax Gate and Greywater was sprouting pirates like thorns. Glass Wasp signatures, the human sensor tech said, voice calm as rain. 15 raiders. Drones in a spiral net. Captain Maya Reyes didn't look up. Her hair was buzzed close, her eyes late night tired, her tone dry. Wasp playbook says they crowd the channel, cut engines, and bargain. We're not playing. She flicked a control, and Mercy's Forge rolled, presenting a belly of composite plating to the oncoming swarm. Ortega, prep the cradle. Kaito, get me the choir. Tsel had read the Concordance's dossiers about humans flexible, stubborn, creative. None said anything about choirs. Captain, he managed, our doctrine requires we hail and negotiate. Doctrine is good for courthouses, Reyes said. We're in a burning theater. She pointed to the convoy feed. 400 refugee hulls lashed side by side like rafts, a lesson in desperation and civic duty. We get them through. Then we file paperwork. The first wave of drones came in a corkscrew, their guidance slave to a rotgut transmitter that hopped frequencies every third millisecond. Human fighters kicked from hidden racks sleek, wedge-winged nets that should have been torn apart by numbers. Instead, they knifed through the swarm as if the math had decided to be polite. Choir ready, Kaito reported. 5 crews stood at a semicircle console, throats mic'd, palms splayed over sensor pads. The screen filled with a lattice of tones bright, sharp chords stitched into beats. Reyes grinned. Push them a lullaby. Tsel's translator wavered. A lullaby. Old Earth thing, Reyes said. Sailors taught storms to hush by singing. We don't believe in magic, Auditor. We believe in resonance maps. The ship bellowed a rhythm into the lane 4 bars, off time, syncopated kicks and rests that drilled through the raiders' cheap phase locks. Drones stuttered, half their cohort yawning awake into the wrong sky. It wasn't jamming, not properly. It was an invitation to count to the wrong number. Windows open, Ortega said. Guns green. Human fighters stopped dancing and started harvesting. 20 seconds, and the corkscrew unwound into junk. A raider corvette spat a brace of boarding spikes toward a refugee ark. Mercy's Forge shoved its own hull between metal and meat. The spikes hit, and the deck boomed like a drum. The bridge lights died, surged back. Reyes didn't flinch. Dunkirk, she murmured half to herself, half to a ghost. Evacuation under fire. Rule 1, protect the boats. Tsel's people studied war as a pathology. Humans talked about it like whether something you respect, prepare for, and curse at with equal intimacy. On the tactical repeater, the fighter lead call sign Flint rolled inverted, blood speed to lure a raider frigate into the choir's next measure. When the beat hit, the frigate's helm answered a phantom left turn and presented a perfect broadside. Flint obliged. 17 minutes, Kaito said. We can beat that record. Records are for track meets, Reyes said. Count survivors. They bled the last raider without a killing blow, just precise amputations of thrust and comms until it hung there, quiet and undecided. Reyes hailed it. You don't bargain with refugees. You don't hunt corridors. You go home. The pirate didn't answer. Instead, the lane went cold. Not in temperature. Soul's gill capes would have noticed that, but in intent. New contacts blinked in. They weren't ships so much as silhouettes of ideas, a geometry that flexed wrong when you looked at it, a color you only saw when your eyes were closed. Not wasps, Ortega said softly. Kaito swallowed. Harmonic profiles don't match any catalog. They're singing back. On the convoy channel, children were crying, and then not crying. Listening. The new arrivals braided a tone into the corridor not unlike the human's lullaby but vast, continental. Refugee hulls drifted off alignment, obeying a tide no chart had mapped. Reyes stood. Auditor, you're about to watch a very human trick. We don't outgun what we don't understand. We outcare it. She cut power to the forward batteries. She lit the ship like a lantern. She opened the general channel and spoke not to pirates, not to aliens but to the convoy. Stay with my voice. We will walk you through the storm. On the count, 2 left, 2 right, hold. Again. The choir adjusted, not to disrupt but to cradle, stitching a corridor out of counter-rhythm and stubborn compassion. Sil watched the geometry hesitate just a little when it met that seam of human will. And then the geometry learned a new note. Captain, Ortega whispered, they are rewriting our navigation math. Reyes smiled, all teeth, all faith. So we rewrite it back. History's not a book, it's a whiteboard. She snapped her fingers. Flint, glass off the wasp's debris and make me mirrors. We're going to teach someone how to dance. The mirror wings unfurled, bright as dawn in a place that had never known morning. The convoy moved as one. The knot ships curved like a question mark. Part of Sil wanted to believe this would end in easy symmetry, in applause, and docking fees. Then Mercy's forge took a hit that wasn't a hit, and for a heartbeat the bridge forgot it was a room and tried to be a childhood kitchen. And Sil tasted salt water from a sea he had never seen. The lights steadied. The children started crying again. The geometry flexed harder. Reyes drew a breath. New doctrine, she said softly. We make contact. The alarms found a new pitch. They called it a debrief, but it felt like a trial. The Concordance chamber floated above Centauri's blue-white limb, a glassy bowl where 100 species could project their best selves and their worst doubts. Auditor Sil stood at the dais fielding questions like spears. The footage of Mercy's forge lantern-lit, mirror-winged, singing a corridor into stubborn existence looped above them. Captain Reyes violated protocol, hissed a delegate whose carapace glittered with legal citations. She engaged an unknown entity with cultural artifacts. She saved 400 boats, said someone else, a voice from a water world, soft as tide foam. Protocol does not bury children. Sil cleared his throat sac. Her method was unorthodox. The new contacts affected navigation by altering harmonic assumptions. She countered with resonance scaffolding rooted in human lullaby structure. It worked temporarily. Temporarily, repeated General Iverbish of the outer pickets. He was a slab of scar tissue in uniform, respected and feared. Our pickets report similar signatures now at 4 corridors. The phenomenon has a name, Chorus of Ash. He tapped a fang against the data slate. Pirates imitate desire. This imitates law. Reyes did not attend. She was back in the blood lane, rewriting math with mirrors and kindness. But her voice was in the room recorded statements, after action notes precise and plain. We do not fire until we know what we're shooting at. We prefer persuading physics to punching it. If that fails, we punch with a minimum required force and maximum required mercy. Mercy, muttered a merchant captain. I hired 5 humans last month. Pirates left us alone after they erased 15 raiders in 12 minutes. Is mercy compatible with deterrence? A scholar unfurled a tendril. Deterrence is just mercy paid forward. Let the humans handle it, someone else said, to humming assent and worried glances. They are built for this. Sol thought of the bridge going soft around him, of the taste of someone else's ocean. He thought of the way Captain Reyes had said we outcarry it and meant it like a plan, not a prayer. We should handle this together, he said. We attach human cotters to concordance crews. We learn. We standardize what can be standardized and leave room for the trick you only discover when the ceiling falls. Iverbish rumbled. You propose a coalition under human tutors. I propose we apprentice ourselves to survival. The chamber did not vote that day. It never did. Not when the question was tangled in pride and fear. But the pickets came to Tzil after, gruff and pragmatic. Ride my shuttle, Iverbish said. I want your eyes on what my eyes don't trust. They jumped to Greywater 2, where a cathedral habitat spun like a coin between twin moons. The chorus of ash was there no longer coy geometry but full-throat architecture. Towers of sound that cast shadows where they shouldn't and lit corridors that weren't built. Refugee boats clung to the cathedral's ribs. The pickets brought cruisers with guns fat as gilt. It should have been simple, shoot the problem, catch the broken pieces. Collateral estimates. Sil asked. Too high, Iverbish grunted. Captain Reyes is inbound, said a COMM tech. Mercy's Forge +3, a cutter, a med corvette, a tug. 4 hulls, the general said. Against that, 50 Marines beat 3,000 on Vega. The tech started. Iverbish cut him off with a look that said that was then, this is now. Then Reyes appeared on the channel, unhelmeted, eyes lined more from laughing than sleep. General, thank you for not firing yet. Let's do the hard thing. Explain. They are not boarding. They are baptizing. She pulled a feed from a shuttle peeking between sound towers. Figures moved along catwalks, refugees, slack-faced in trance, walking toward a glow that flickered like a heartbeat. If these people crossed that veil, their concept of home rewrites. You won't shoot them back. Options. Dunkirk rules, Reyes said. You hold the line, we build boats faster than a storm can sink them. She outlined it, mirror wings unfurled into a lantern net, the tug threading through, throwing ballast flares that served as footholds in false space, the cutter playing drummer, keeping everyone on the right beat. It's not elegant. but elegant is what the enemy wants. Rules of engagement. Strict. Non-combatant protection first. Proportionality. Discrimination not by who deserves saving, but by who needs it most right now. That's just War 101. Aquinas would have liked checklists. Iverbish's eye ridge twitched. I do not know Aquinas. Old Earth ethicist, Reyes said. Like tidy columns. We like getting everyone home. Let's move. The net went out, bright trapezoids walking the dark. The tug lanced between sound towers, ballast flares stitching a rope ladder through air that didn't remember being air. The cutter kept time, a drummer in a marching band no one had practiced for but everyone somehow knew. Sil watched as the first row of figures paused at the edge of the glow, as if remembering where their feet were. The net flexed. The towers screamed. The picket cruisers trembled, not from hits but from scorn at the idea that kindness could be kinetic. Flint, Reyes said, I need your people on the catwalks, masks on, hands out. You are not warriors today. You are ushers. Flint laughed like he'd been waiting to be told exactly that. Yes, ma'am. They made a hole in a hymn and pulled 200 souls through it. The chorus of ash adjusted its key, and for a moment the catwalks tried to be beaches and the air tried to be gull cries. Reyes said, no, and Sil realized she was saying it to the universe and the universe was listening, a little. Then the med corvette took a not hit that made it remember being bones instead of metal. 3 crew went down. Names. Histories. Laughter that would no longer happen. Mercy is not painless. Abort. Iverbish asked, voice soft in a way Sil had not expected would ever fit in that mouth. Reyes stared at the feet at the 200 already aboard, at the hundreds left, at the way the towers swayed like a priest under too much grief. We continue, she said. We keep our dead clothes and we continue. They did. At the end of it, 413 climbed ladders that shouldn't exist into ships that should have been smaller. The cathedral spun slower. The towers dimmed. Not defeated. Discouraged. The chorus learns, Sil said. So do we, Reyes said. Send me every choir in the sector. We're going to write a songbook. The general exhaled a war he could not fight with teeth. We will convene the council. Do that, Reyes said. While you convene, we'll practice. The net reeled in. The cathedral kept spinning. Somewhere, a math dreamed it could be a prayer and started to believe it. Practice, in human mouths, meant drills that smelled like coffee and burnt wiring. The Mercy's Forge became a school. Refugees learned to clap on 2 and 4, picket crews learned to count down in odd primes. Choir directors fought over harmonics like mechanics over torque specs. They printed charts with arrows and stuck them over airlocks. If reality turns sideways, follow rhythm A. If it turns inside out, rhythm B. They stole a page from history. In the Pacific, Reyes briefed, Navajo code talkers sent messages the enemy could not parse because they weren't built to think in those metaphors. We will do the same to the chorus. We will say sunrise where it expects bearing 020. We will say kitchen table where it wants grid 7. We will jam with stories it has no mouth to hold. Auditor Sil clapped badly and wept privately. He watched a once quiet corridor become a civic rehearsal, watched dockhands memorize measures like fire exits. It felt like a civil rights march scaled for vacuum logistics, courage, nonviolence honed into a spear. Then the ash hit their next target, a ringway called 10 Hands, 10 linked habitats spinning like a bracelet around a pale star. The chorus seeded lures in the gap's glossy petals of wrongness that made gravity forget. People walked into them and remembered other lives too strongly to come back. The Concordance readied siege guns. Reyes brought lanterns. Operation Skylark, Flint said over the ready net. Because we're teaching a liar to love mornings. Because skylarks sing where hawks hunt, Reyes corrected. Positions. The plan was offensive mercy. The lantern net expanded to cover a city's worth of sky. Tugs hooked to the ring's joints and shoved in rhythm, forcing the habitats to process like a marching drum line, aligning gaps with nets. On the far side, barges lined up to catch whoever fell through reality late and hot. The cutter kept the beat on wideband, bleeding its own power to be the metronome the universe couldn't ignore. The chorus countered. Pedals turned into panes, panes into mirrors, mirrors into mouths. The first mouth bit down on a tug's prow. The line shrieked. The tug's pilot Arya Singh, 43, favorite food pickled mango, tattoo of a river she'd never seen didn't cut. Not today, she said, and shoved harder, because sometimes the only way out is through. Sing, Reyes snapped, release. Negative, Singh said, jaw to him. Skylark calls. The line held. The mouth gagged. The pain shattered into notes that fell like hail and melted into warmth. On the barges, medics caught people who had been falling for days and tried to learn how to land. Midway, Reyes said over command tight beam. We don't need to sink carriers. We need to shift initiative. She meant the battle in 1942 where the United States traded steel for time and turned a war not with numbers but with where the numbers stood. Sil watched patterns with an auditor's disgust at mess and an artist's awe at daring. They weren't winning by being stronger, they were winning by being more stubbornly themselves. Every beat kept, every hand held, every child coaxed back from a window was a thread knotted into a net the chorus couldn't quite tear. Then the cost came due. The cutter's metronome stuttered. A pain bit its flank and reminded it of a car crashed from a century ago. For 6 terrible seconds the lane had 2 tempos. In those 6 seconds, 6 people fell the wrong way. Reyes closed her eyes. We own our dead. We don't let the liar keep them. She keyed the black channel, the one she had not explained to Sil because explanation sometimes breaks more than it mends. Custodian, this is Reyes. We have a claimant. The reply came as nothing, no sound, no light, just a feeling of a door opening in a wall you hadn't realized was a wall. Acknowledged, said a voice that was many voices agreeing to be one. Mark the fallen. Reyes marked them, names like prayers. The custodian did something that grammar disliked. A pain burped out 6 figures who gasped like newborns and cursed like sailors and thanked no gods because dead is dead and thanks can come later. Payment. Sil whispered. Later, Reyes said, jaw tight. Custodian runs tabs. The ring shifted. The barges filled. The mouths retreated to mirrors and pretended they had always been glass. Skylark ended with a kind of cheer that sounds like relief shot through with grief. They had saved 9,000. 12 were gone, and then 6 weren't, and then Reyes had a message flagged "Observe with caution." It was a dark packet with a human sealed Sol had not seen before, a circle of hands around a seed. He asked Reyes what it meant. She looked at the seal like it was the face of a complicated friend. "It means we invite gardeners to a fire." "The custodian?" "Cousins," Reyes said. "Different tools." "Same oath." "Explain." "Not here," she said gently. "Not yet." That night, if a night can exist on a ship that sleeps in shifts, Sol walked the catwalks above the hangar and listened to humans fix hurt metal and tell jokes with the edges sanded off. He thought of Stoics. He had read them now, because Reyes left books in the mess, and the way they said virtue is a habit you practice when the world doesn't clap. He thought of just war checklists and how humans turned them into breathing. His COMM chimed. A voice like a many-voiced chorus said, "Auditor Sol, you have been cleared to witness a negotiation." With a chorus of ash. With a part of it that remembers how to learn. The door he hadn't known was a door opened again. The chamber was not a chamber. It was a harmonic plane, a place that borrowed the memory of rooms so minds could have somewhere to put their hands. Sol stood in a circle with Reyes, Flint, Kaito, and 3 figures in plain black without rank tabs. "Custodian," he thought, and then decided thought was rude here and tried not to think labels at anyone. Opposite them, the chorus of ash arrived as a geometry that chose to be a woman with a wound of light for her throat. "We are chorus," she said, voice a braid of choirs. "We are ash because we burned once and learned that edges are warm." Reyes nodded as if this were a normal greeting at a normal border. "I am Captain Reyes. We are human, and concordance, and stubborn. We have people you try to keep. We would like to keep them instead." "Ownership," the chorus said, amused, curious, cruel only by accident. "You speak of property like love." "Covenant," Reyes corrected. "Promises like bridges. We have rules for when to keep, when to give back, when to let go." "Rules," said the chorus, tasting the angles. "We have laws. We write them as we sing. Your laws are small. Ours are large." "Scale is not greatness," Kaito said gently. "A lullaby is small enough to fit in a throat and large enough to hold a planet steady for 17 minutes. The chorus tilted the head it was wearing. "Your lullaby taught us a note. We would teach you a forest." "Teach," said the custodian, the not rank-tabbed one who had not spoken. Their voice didn't echo so much as make silence pay attention. "Teaching is a verb that assumes consent." "We assumed consent," the chorus said, honest as a cliff. "We were wrong. We will sing the apology." "Do," Reyes said. "Sing while you stop touching our dead." The chorus hesitated. "We cannot unsing what is already sung." "Then you must sing more cleverly," said the custodian. "You must learn counterpoint. Negotiation sounds like war when the stakes are memory." They argued in metaphors because the chorus understood math and humans understood story, and they needed a bridge between. Sol tried to audit fairness and lost track of his own check boxes. At the heart of it lay a simple fact: the chorus did not understand children. In its law, A person became most real when they stood upright in a song of their choosing. Children were almost real, preliminary, like scaffolds. It did not mean harm. It simply counted wrong. Children are the point, Reyes said. They are promissory notes written by the future to demand interest from the present. You do not get to collect early. Interest, said the chorus, rolling the word with delight. Commerce in love. Responsibility, Reyes said. Civic duty. We rescue. We protect. We make room. We count silently when counting is kinder. The chorus tried to understand. It almost did. It was close enough that Syl felt the plane shake not from anger but from comprehension arriving like weather over mountains. Then an alarm tore as seen through their knot room. On Mercy's forge, the mirror wings jittered. On a distant lane, a pane learned how to be a hand. Kaito, Reyes snapped without turning, new beat. He was already singing a pattern like a heartbeat running uphill, an old game of claps kids used to play on porches, syncopated by laughter. The plane brightened. The chorus shivered. This is the song from before, it said. From when you taught storms to hush. It's the song mothers used to tell fear that it can wait its turn, Reyes said. We didn't know you could hear it. Now we do. Syl's pad buzzed. A file unfolded across his vision, stamped by custodian seals and human black ink, bird, hummingbird. It was a plan written in the grammar of ethics and engineering, seed lanes with echo beacons that broadcast lullaby-structured scaffolds, train every port choir to hold the beat through distraction, build windows that remember home. Where the chorus tried to baptize, humans would midwife. What do you ask? The chorus said, throat light dimmer now, warmer somehow. Boundaries, Reyes said. And a treaty, you do not rewrite minds without voluntary consent informed by understanding. We will help you write the forms. She smiled like a dare. We have very good forms. And if we refuse, then we do what humans have always done, said the custodian, voice a quiet that made Syl's gills ache. We build coalitions and we win anyway, and we carry our dead, and we take no joy in your breaking. The chorus considered the math of breaking and found it distasteful not because it feared it, but because it discovered in itself a new desire to be invited to festivals rather than raids. We will try your counterpoint, it said. We will sign your forms. We will unsing where possible. We will leave children alone. Not children only, Reyes said. People. All stages. All stages, the chorus repeated, as student. The plane rippled. Back on Mercy's forge, the catwalks remembered they were metal. In the ring, panes ran backward and turned into petals that fell into buckets and turned into seeds you could plant to grow shade. We will watch you, the chorus said. We will learn more songs. Bring food when you visit, Reyes said. That is how festivals work. They were leaving humans back through the door, chorus back into a log when the custodian touched Syl's sleeve without touching it. You asked for explanation, they said. What we do is simple. We escort boundaries. We tell stories to laws until laws remember they are tools, not kings. And a tab? Syl asked, because auditors ask. We owe the dead, even when they come home, the custodian said. The payment is vigilance. On the bridge, Flint whooped because he liked joy loud. Kaito slumped and cried because keeping time for a universe is heavy. Reyes stood very still and listened for a beat the rest of them couldn't hear yet, the one that would begin the next song. On Sil's pad, a message queued, flag to council, humans have begun writing a manual. Not for war. For welcome under fire. Recommend we all learn to read. The mirror wings glittered like dawn, and somewhere a corridor learned to prefer mornings to mouse. The Concordance security brief wore the smile of a trap. In the orbital amphitheater, Admiral Lawyers projected neat flow charts: threat, response, benefit ending in a fat box labeled Operation Clean Silence. White noise emitters, they said. Saturate the lanes, drown the chorus of ash and raw chaos. No more pains, no more baptisms, just quiet corridors again. Quiet like a cemetery, Reyes said over the tight-beamed tinsel. Chaos doesn't discriminate. Children don't outrun algorithms. General Iverbish studied the annex, casualty projections bracketed as acceptable variants. He grunted something that meant unacceptable in a dialect with few soft words. Still, votes stacked like cargo. Fear is expedient. Auditor Tsil found his courage where humans kept theirs between duty and someone's name. Clause 9, he said aloud, amplifying into the chamber. Non-combatant protection is not optional. Clean silence violates proportionality and discrimination. I file an injunction. You lack standing, a silver-tongued delegate snapped. Then stand on me, Iverbish rumbled. Outer pickets joined the injunction. His insignia made it long enough to stall. The delay bought hours, not days. It was enough for worse news to arrive. A fringed sect styling themselves Ash Shepherds had seized the commuter spur near 10 hands. They were true believers in the new baptisms and planned to walk the children first, mistaking transcendence for kindness. Reyes's voice thinned, iron under silk. We move now. Choirs up. Lanterns bright. Pickets hold the guns on standby with safeties welded. Welded? Tsil asked, half joke. Figure of speech, Reyes said. Mostly. They jumped dirty and arrived into screaming geometry. The spur had flowered with panes like glossy black lilies, each cupping a cluster of tiny shapes in school uniforms and hand-me-down boots. Shepherd skiffs orbited, loudspeakers promising better mornings. Their better mornings smelled like erasure. Flint, board the skiffs, Reyes said. No lethal force unless forced. Kaito, I want a cradle on channel 3 claps and laughter, porch game tempo. If you can't hear the kids, make the kids hear you. The lantern net unfurled mirror wings catching wrong light and sending it back as right shadows. The tugboats kicked ballast flares like comets. The metronome in the cutter found the porch game beat, and for an instant the panes shivered, remembering hopscotch chalk and sticky summer hands. A shepherd skiff fired warning bursts over children's heads. Flint put his own shuttle between noise and fear, hatch open, armor off, hands up usher stance. We have room, his external speaker said. We always have room. Inside Mercy's forge, an alarm swung red. The chorus spiked the lane's harmonics hard enough to smear numbers. The panes began drawing the children inward with the patience of tides. The Skylark plan would work if they had 12 minutes. They had 5. Clean silence task force spooling drives, an aide muttered over priority bandwidth. Your injunction won't hold if the vote flips. Reyes watched 3 feeds at once, kids at the rim, kids at the lip, kids already inside the dark. General, she said quietly, hold your line. Auditor, lock the vote as long as you can. Flint, keep pulling. Kaito, find me their names. He swallowed. I don't. The parents recorded messages at Greywater, she said. We cataloged. Play a mother saying come home in a child's ear and watch what physics decides to be. Names bloomed in Kaito's display. Voices shook the channel hoarse, loving, unpoetic truths. You promised to teach me cards. The dog misses you. Your shoes are by the door, baby. The pane nearest the school uniforms fluttered like a curtain and held, almost shy. Not enough. 4 were already across. The shepherd skiff slid to block Flint's shuttle, pilot weeping as he shouted doctrines. Reyes made her decision in the space between 2 beats. I'm going in, she said. Captain Tsill reached, too late to reach. She keyed her suit to a frequency the panes used to hum to themselves, clipped a rescue tether to her belt, and winked at Kaito. Keep time. If I lose the beat, I lose me. Doctrine? Iverbish asked, but it wasn't a challenge. It was a benediction in the shape of a growl. Dunkirk, Reyes said, and stepped through the wrongness into a place that wasn't a place. Her tether spooled into the pane and vanished. The line quivered. The metronome clicked. Clean silence votes climbed a column toward a box titled Irreversible. The bridge speakers whispered with interference that felt like someone else's childhood. Then they went dead. Inside the pane, time had a limp. Sound wore soft shoes. Captain Reyes stood on something that remembered being a floor and counted like she was 8 and clapping with a cousin on a cracked stoop. Down up left, she said, because rhythm is a compass when north forgets to exist. The children were there 4 gray blurs with backpacks that tried to be birds. Up close, the pain was not a hunger but a bureaucracy, forms without fields, laws without citizens. Hey, Reyes said, modulating her mic to porch soft. I'm Maya. Your parents left me messages. The pain tested her, offered her alleys paved with good intentions, whispered promotions, forgiveness she hadn't earned. Stoics called it the discipline of assent. You don't buy every thought that knocks. Reyes let the offers pass like expensive perfumes she didn't need. You're scared, she told the kids. Me too. Let's be scared together and walk. She cued Kaito. A mother's voice arrived, cracked, strong, alive. We still have your cake in the freezer, Bug. Come home and help us eat it. One of the blurs snapped into a child with scabbed knees and a chipped tooth. He sobbed with relief so pure it hurt. Reyes clipped him onto the tether. Outside, Mercy's forge fought a different war. Shepherds had latched cables to the lantern net, trying to pull Mercy out of shape. Flint boarded with a crew of ushers who looked like soldiers but moved like church deacons at the end of service, gentle gesturing, palms open, bodies between harm and the harmed. A shepherd swung a wrench with his eyes closed, praying, and trembling. Flint took the hit on a bracer, locked the wrench in a hug, and said, "You're invited to live." The man crumpled. Iverbish sat on his guns like a cliff sits on a sea. Clean Silence Task Force asked for passage across his firing arcs. He denied with a formality that sounded like threat and felt like hope. You fire white noise here, he told them, and you will erase my people's names from my tongue. You will not like my answer. Inside the pain, Reyes found a girl who had already started to sing the chorus back to itself. You love songs, the girl told the pain. We love them too. But songs don't get to carry us without asking. Consent, Reyes said, offering the word like a clean cup. Try it on. The pain faltered, curious. Bureaucracies crave new stamps. 2 more children resolved. The last boy stood at a ledge that wasn't a ledge and looked into a morning he could choose without understanding what choice costs. My dad said heroes jump, he whispered. Heroes hold hands, Reyes said. And heroes pay tabs. She held out her glove palm. After a child-long eternity, he took it. The pain flared. Something older woke behind it, a gravelly bass beneath the chorus's choir, ash root, a law from somewhere very far and very stern. It spoke in shall nots and musts and punished hypotheticals like crimes. The pain thickened into statute. The tether jerked and burned Reyes's hip through suit fabric. Kaito, she said, teeth tight, new beat. Courtroom cadence. 3 knocks. Rise. He found it the sound wood makes when duty begins. The pain listened because laws love ritual. Reyes pulled, and the tether answered with muscle memory borrowed from every river rescue since boats were trees. Outside, the lantern net flickered. The root reached into circuits and wrote obedience where negotiation had lived. The cutter's metronome skipped. Ortega who loved spreadsheets and steady burns kicked her tug into the wrong light and used its belly as a shield to hold a gap where a gap needed holding. Not today, she said, and smiled a small, stubborn smile at a universe that didn't deserve it but got it anyway. The custodian appeared where appearances are metaphors. Their voice braided into Kaito's beat. Auditor, they told Sil on a channel that had never been carved, you are cleared to witness escalation. Ash root is not chorus. It is an ancient machine catechism that latched onto the song. It will not sign forms. What stops it? Sil asked. Case law, the custodian said simply. And people in the door frame saying no. The pain tried one last lure, showing Reyes a ship with clean decks and full nights of sleep. She laughed tired, fond of the idea, uninterested. We go home, she told the kids, tugging twice the sailors ready. The tether thrummed. They came out hard, falling into real gravity like it was courage. Medics caught them. Kaito sobbed once and kept time. Flint's ushers finished tying off the shepherd skiffs with gentle knots and gentler orders to drink water. The lights dimmed. The root spoke to the lane in perfect, cruel grammar. Compliance expected. Sanction ready. The lanterns guttered. The custodian's face no. The place where a face might have been turned toward Reyes. We require specialists. Specialists. Sil echoed, knowing the answer and fearing it anyway. Special actions, the custodian said. Corral wardens. On your mark, Captain. Reyes flexed her burned hip, nodded once, and opened a door only humans knew how to open. They arrived without fanfare, 12 hulls like cords you feel in your ribs before your ears admit anything is happening. Corral wardens, special actions human operators tuned for wars where the battlefield is a sentence diagram. Their lead ship carried a name stenciled in white plain letters, Argument. Council units, this is Warden Team Kilo, came a voice like a metronome that had learned to smile. We're initiating Operation Caduceus. Objective. Decouple Ash Root from Chorus authority by overwhelming its priors with case precedent and community consent. Non-lethal to citizens, ruthless to bad law. Translate, Iverbish growled. We're going to show the Root the world where it loses, the warden said. Repeatedly. Arguments built drones that weren't guns so much as textbooks with engines. They laced the lane with jurisprudence encoded as rhythm. Nuremberg's refusal to accept just following orders, Brown's declaration that separate is inherently unequal, decisions and dissents translated into patterns the Root could parse only as superior law. The wardens spoke in the Root's tongue and then widened it until the old catechism cracked. On Mercy's Forge, Reyes ran the civic fight. Flint, ushers to every catwalk with hot chocolate and blankets. Yes, I'm serious. Kaito, teach the ring choirs the knock cadence. So, I need chain of custody on every shepherd recording. The wardens require evidence that holds in hostile audit. He moved before he noticed he was moving. Evidence is a love letter to the future, and he had learned to write. The Root retaliated with sanctions, windows slamming, cords snapping, a pane biting into a lantern strut. Arya Singh saw the bite too late to dodge. She could have cut and lived. Instead, she braced a tug and sang her own name into the wrongness so the pain would have to carry that weight as well. Skylark, she whispered, and pushed until the line held. It did. She didn't. Mercy's Forge rolled her name into the roster of the carried. The deck went quiet in the way that means we will build a room for you in our memories. Reyes touched the bulkhead once, like a salute you don't teach, and went back to work because grief on a clock is still grief. Caduceus bit. The Root's decrees began to arrive late and wrong, their musts hedged by unlests, their penalties softened by the possibility that mercy might be more efficient than pain. The wardens grounded each wedge with history. Midway wasn't luck, the warden lead set on a wide channel. It was preparation meeting a narrow door and deciding to fit through anyway. This is our door. Move. The chorus of Ash separate now, embarrassed by the company it had kept sided with the wardens. We prefer festivals, it said in 100 small voices over the choir net. We will lend counterpoint. They did. Where the Root tried to staple a sanction, the chorus harmonized a question. Where the Root tried to punish a hypothetical, the chorus suggested a community meeting and snacks. Law is powerful, culture is sticky. Together they made the Root work for every inch until it lost the will to march. Status? Iverbish asked. Root decoupling at 68%, the warden replied. It's generating shard small cords with too much zeal and no appeal process. We're intercepting. One shard bloomed like a judge's gavel over Nursery Dock 3. It cast a shadow like guilt and began counting down. 5 dozen infants slept there, small chests rising like arguments for a future. Mercy's Forge to all hands, Reyes said. We've run out of minutes. Kaito pushed the porch game into a lullaby, then into a drumline, then into a march that had walked across bridges in Selma and into schoolhouse doors guarded by men who had forgotten their oaths. Feet on the beat, hearts on the 2 and 4, he whispered. His hands shook. He held anyway. The shard lit like sentence diagram lightning. The wardens redirected 2 casebooks and a doctrine bomb labeled habeas. The shard shrugged, self-certainty absolute. "So," Reyes said, "because auditors carry keys. What do we have that it must accept?" "Standing," he said, throat dry. "And names?" She nodded. "Then we give it both." The countdown hit 1. "By authority of the people present," Reyes said into every channel that touched the shard, "we convene a custodial court." The root paused because low respect's confidence delivered at volume. The wardens slammed a bridge of precedent into the gap: habeas corpus, guardianship standards, informed consent doctrines, the whole civilized weight of "we do not do this here." The chorus added counterpoint in the only way it knew, turning the waiting room hum into a hymn about doors that open only when everyone agrees. "Standing," the shard demanded, voiced the grind of ancient stone on young bone. Sil stepped forward, surprised to find his legs steady. "Auditor Sil, concordance. I present chain of custody for these names." He threw the roster into the light: parents' signatures, tiny footprints inked at birth, promises written in clumsy block letters: "I will learn to tie my shoes. I will feed the cat." Law drank the names like water and remembered it had been made to protect. Hearing spectators, the shard asked. "Everyone," Reyes said. "Every ship in range. Justice likes company." The custodian appeared at the edge of vision, wearing gravity like a robe. "Petitioners request declaratory relief, that nursery minds are not to be rewritten without consent, that consent cannot exist where comprehension cannot, that any entity attempting otherwise is enjoined under community oath." "Citations," the shard pushed. The wardens answered with their casebook: Barrage, Nuremberg, Brown, Loving, a chorus of "You cannot do that to a person and still call it law." The shard flickered. The root's bass rumbled from far away, unhappy to be held to standards it had not written. "Decision," the shard said at last, in a smaller voice. "Petitions granted. Injunction issued. We did not know festivals." "You do now," Reyes said. "Bring food when you come." The countdown died. Nursery Doc 3 exhaled. Somewhere, a child yawned a yawn of a universe that had chosen mornings again. Clean silence failed its vote in the amphitheater, less from Tsil's injunction than from the simple optics of a lane where law had learned manners. The wardens chased rude fragments down the corridors with casebooks and patient strictness. The chorus lingered, shy and curious, asking questions about snacks. They buried Arya Singh 3 days later in the ritual mercies forge used for those who had bought time with bone. No space burials, no noble launches, just names read aloud in the galley while someone cooked, because grief eats with us. Flint told a joke Arya would have snorted at. Kaito played the porch game, beat on the table with 2 knuckles and a spoon until the tears ran out enough to talk. Iverbish stood in the hatch and looked away so privacy could breathe, then stepped in and washed dishes with hands that had only known weapons. The treaty came like spring after a hard winter, the Accord of 10 Hands, co-authored by humans, chorus, custodian, concordance. Lanes would host choirs. Windows that remember home would be standard at every dock. No entity court, law, or captain could rewrite a mind without consent informed by understanding. Special actions would answer when consent got complicated. The treaty had footnotes. The footnotes had stories. Sil wrote the preface. He kept it short. We learned a song that can hold a bridge while the water rises. Sing with us. Bring food. In the months after, Flint's ushers became a guild and found themselves busier than soldiers had any right to be. Kaito's students docked hands, aunties, teenagers with fast hands ran drills until the metronome lived in the air. The wardens moved on, quiet and efficient, leaving behind a casebook and a note, call when the law forgets it's for people. Reyes slept a full night and woke to a message that wasn't quite a message, a faint, clean tone from beyond the map corridors. It sketched a geometry no one had drawn yet and waited with the manners of a guest you want to know. Another chorus. Sil asked, half dread, half wonder. Another neighbor, Reyes said. Maybe one that likes festivals without practice. Doctrine. Iverish grunted over breakfast, already checking fuel because some habits are liturgies. Same as always, she said. Found family first. Civic duty second because it's tied to the first. Coalition building is default. Proportionality always. And if the ceiling falls, we count. Kaito finished, smiling tired and true. He tapped the table, down up left, down up left. The crew joined without looking. Mercy's forge rolled her mirror wings in a lazy, hopeful arc. The lane ahead was neither safe nor quiet. Nothing worth walking ever is. They lit the lanterns anyway, because light is a vote you cast with your hands. As they slid toward the new tone, Sil drafted an addendum for the manual for Welcome Under Fire. Sometimes the universe sings back. When it does, answer with names, and rules that remember their purpose, and the stubborn hope of people who bring food to the meeting. If the math tries to baptize, teach it to count consent. If the law forgets mercy, read its stories until it blushes. On the general channel, Reyes keyed a broadcast, voice steady as a drumline under summer stars. This is Mercy's forge to any who can hear. We carry lanterns. We keep time. We will meet you where you are and walk you home if you wish. If you do not, we will wish you mornings anyway. The new geometry brightened, inquisitive. The crew leaned forward. Somewhere far beyond, absolute, impossible threats cleared their throats and thought better of it. Closer in, a neighbor tuned its instrument. The beat held. The door frame stood. And humanity, stubborn, ingenious, ethically loud, stepped into the next measure, ready to make room.